Enjoyed a little Van Halen on the break there. Thank you, Knocker. All right, guys. Once again, check us out the show on iTunes, iHeartRadio, our YouTube channel, SoundCloud, and Stitcher Radio. Spread the word, tell a friend. Golf tournament in 2 weeks. Right now, we're going to be getting into some NHL, NBA, soccer news with Dan Burlington as well. Got some what the fuck news. We have Joe Bartnick should be online here in about a few minutes. Knocker break down some hockey for us. Real quick though, Knock. With the NHL, man, I've been watching these series lately a lot, and you got a couple teams that are they're just stinking it up. But you got Columbus making a comeback against the Penguins. Now they're 3-1 in the series. The series that's really caught me by surprise. I didn't think Minnesota was going to get beat this bad by St. Louis, man.
Not swept. I mean, they're down 3-0.
Yeah, it's looking pitiful for them right now. But a lot of tough hockey, a lot of good fights already. How about the Oilers and Sharks series is fantastic. That Calgary Anaheim.
Excited to see the Blue Jackets.
Well, Anaheim coming back from a 4-1 deficit to win in overtime. Just they're already up 2-0 in the first period tonight.
Fuck Anaheim.
So the Capitals went to 2-2.
Well, all right then.
Capitals went to 2-2 on that series. Is that correct?
I believe so.
After the win today. So a lot going on. Let's get to the rest of the NHL and the NHL playoffs here as we have Joe Bartnick coming up in just a second. Now, Joe does his own podcast here called the Puck Off Podcast. He does it with Fraser Smith from over there at KLOS. It's a great. If you guys are hockey like hockey heads, Knocker, that's the podcast you want.
Puckheads.
That's the podcast you guys want to get on to. It's fantastic. Check it out on iTunes as well. But let's get into it, Knocker. The NHL playoffs, baby.
I am absolutely loving it.
It's great, man. Even April and May, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, baseball's in full swing. You got soccer going on as well. You got the NFL draft coming up.
Yep.
Just a great couple months of sports activities going on here, Knock. But we're going to break down the series for you guys, see how our predictions are doing so far. Any surprises for you, Knock? I mean, I know my surprise with the Wild. I had them over the Blues.
Yeah, that's the one that's just
sticking out in your head right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rest of the series have kind of gone. I'm surprised the Canadians, as much as they've lost in the past, I mean, they don't have as much offensive firepower, but the way that they're handling the Rangers right now, I'm very surprised.
Well, they have a good team. I mean, this is going to be a really good series.
Obviously, they got Carey Price as well.
Weber,
so.
they lost Subban, but they've got Weber. They've got a few good players on that team. They're playing real well.
They've got some,
I'm surprised New York is playing as well as they are right now. The series that's really intriguing is this Ottawa-Boston series.
Yeah, kind of a series that normally in Boston's in a series, the Bruins, it's kind of talked about more. It kind of seems like it's
this
been brushed aside because it is Ottawa and it's
exactly.
Really,
it's not a natural rivalry
allure to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not a original six. It's not a just a born rivalry like the Canadians and the Rangers are that kind of thing.
But Dr. Rob chimes in here with a good point, man. Says, what about the Blackhawks, first of all? I mean, that's obviously been the Nashville Predators and the way that they came out and steamrolled them. Just unbelievable they've done. And also, he says, what exactly surprised you about the Minnesota Wild, the team back to the playoffs, so you shouldn't be surprised at it. It was kind of true.
Well, I didn't think they'd be swept.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on the verge of being swept. St. Louis has had a decent year, but they've been known to choke in the playoffs also. I just didn't see St. Louis going into Minnesota winning both those games, and then now they're on the verge of closing them out in a sweep.
Their goaltending has just been unbelievable for the Blues so far in this series, man. Allen has just been do you know where this guy came from? Because it seems to me he's come out of nowhere so far, and he's just been fantastic.
Outstanding. He was a little inconsistent last year, but right now, he's just – I'm not going to call him high top echelon because Minnesota really – yes, they have more firepower than they have in the past, but they're not as offensive minded as say Anaheim or even Nashville for that matter, or definitely San Jose.
Yeah.
But he's got the ugliest goal pads in the NHL. So I don't know if that's
the
deterrent
flip side
to
of
the
Minnesota
scores, but he's playing fantastic in the pipes.
Devin Dubnyk has not been their goaltending for Minnesota has just been so up and down that they just can't count on anybody between the pipes here. But back to that Blackhawks series, Knocker. I mean, they were my perennial Stanley Cup favorites here coming in.
Well, I had them playing
to the
Anaheim.
Series here, and now you look at them going into Game 4 here, Knocker, down 0-3. If there's any team that can come back in a playoff series down 3-0. It's got to be the Blackhawks. And a little more with that, we're going to talk to our boy Joe Bartnick. Joe, what's going on, my man?
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
We're doing fantastic, dude. Just getting in some puck talk right now, man. Going over these different series. My big surprise, I thought the Minnesota Wild would come out a little stronger than they have in these playoffs. I think obviously goaltending is a big situation. And we just got into the Blackhawks here. What has been more of a surprise, man? The Blackhawks or the Minnesota Wild here, or even the Columbus? What has been your surprise series?
Well, I absolutely think that Chicago being down 0-3 is a complete surprise. I mean, I picked Chicago to come out of the West.
Right.
I knew that Nashville was a strong team. I thought Nashville was the second best team in the Central. I just think it took them a while to get used to PK Subban, and then you just kind of start off a little slow. But now their defense are gelling. Arvidsson's had a heck of a year. Johansson's playing well at center. Forsberg's tough. Even James Neal scoring some goals. I just think I think they're the second best team in the Central. But the Blackhawks, just a no-show is amazing.
And do you blame it on goaltending? Do you blame it on their stars? Kane and Tow's really not doing much in the playoffs so far. Or what do you blame their lack of success for?
Well, Kane's had a couple goals. Taves hasn't done much. Hosta hasn't done much. Panarin has done nothing. I'll tell you, their defense has just kind of looked weak. Like Oduya, I think might even be a scratch. I thought he was the missing piece. They were going to get him back. Overall, it's really just been kind of a malaise, and Nashville's wanted it more. And it's even rough saying that, but basically Nashville's four defensemen, top four, have kept the Chicago to the outside, and then Rene has just been huge.
Yeah,
he's played amazing.
Yeah, what kind of odds would you get that the Blackhawks would have 2 goals total?
Yeah, in the series,
in the 3 games, in the 3 games so far. I mean, just unbelievable to keep them off the boards like that. But you've been waiting for Pecorino to have a series like this for a few years. So, he's definitely one of the top echelon goalies, and he's played great in the playoffs in the past. But he's pretty much stepped it up. I think he's definitely needs to be the guy that carries them to the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah, Rene's played extremely well, and I see him continuing. He's a big guy. He's on his game. He's seeing the puck well. He's on his angles. He's tracking it. He's playing great. Now, just talking about the Minnesota Wild, I think my new nickname for them now is the Wildebeest, because other than Zach Parise, every single guy on that team, everybody, Koivu, David Dubnyk, I expect more. Every single of them is like they look good in the regular season, like the Wildebeest do when they're all standing around. Hey, look how pretty we look. And then the minute they have to come across the Serengeti and the big river, there's the big cats and the alligators, like the Blackhawks and the Predators and the Blues. They cannot handle it, and they wilt, and they get eaten alive.
Yeah, they just seem to choke it really bad. I mean, they have so many good players on that team. I thought they would get a little more done here. Moving on to the next, another series here that's turned out to be a great one with one of the younger upcoming stars in the game, Connor McDavid here. The Oilers now up against the Sharks here. A great series, man. This series has been back and forth. I know San Jose got the best of them last night, with 7 goals, but you kind of just washed that out of the series. That's just one of those games here. Edmonton, though, tie series here at 2-piece. They got Connor McDavid. They've got kind of that young, fresh team with Martin Jones in goal here. How do you see this series turning out here, man? I know the Sharks last year in the Stanley Cup. Oilers upcoming team here. Who do you like? I like the Oilers coming out in this series. What do you feel?
Well, I picked Edmonton to win the series. I picked them in 7, and I think it still will go 7. But Edmonton has to win Game 5 back in Edmonton tomorrow night. There's no way they're going to win Game 6 and Game 7 with Game 6 being on the road. I don't mind losing. I don't mind losing big. A touchdown. You just don't want Talbot, who's had a really strong year, to kind of get a little shook up. But I think the big key to that series is if Leon Draisaitl, now he didn't get suspended. I knew he wouldn't, because it was just it was a looch to the nuts. But they don't really suspend guys in the playoffs for that, and it was his first offense, and he missed most of the game. But he's banged up, and he's actually moved to the third line. because he couldn't keep up with McDavid, they thought. Well, on the regular season, he's the 8th leading points in the league, and he was playing on McDavid's wing, and that gave them just a powerhouse number one line. So he has to feel better. He has to play with McDavid, and then Luch, great in game one. He was I think he was a healthy scratch yesterday. He didn't show up at all.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see. I still have my faith in Edmonton. I just have to see it in Game 5 from everybody on the roster.
Well, you kind of answer one of our Twitter followers' questions here. He wanted to ask you if he thinks we could have a Stanley Cup rematch in the finals, but obviously if you see San Jose, losing to Edmonton, that's not going to happen.
Well, do I think? Well, I mean, I think San Jose. I think San Jose is one of the 4 teams. I mean, I actually thought before the playoffs started, I thought there'd be 3 teams that they could win it from the West. I thought Chicago, Edmonton, or the Ducks. So I guess if Chicago's not around, I'll say the other one could be San Jose. I mean, the way they looked last night, they looked, phenomenal. But he did load up all in one line. It was all the captains, the former captains, and the now captain. So if Thornton's knee's better, he looked much more mobile last night. Sharks, they definitely have a chance. I just like the way Anaheim's going right now.
Yeah, Anaheim looks real good against the Flames. That's why we're just going to pass that series up because it looks like a foregone conclusion. The Ducks are going to take that. Knocker, you look on another great series here on the East. New York Rangers here coming in as the number one wildcard team against the top-rated Canadians here. Series tied at 2 apiece. Carey Price been huge in this one. Hendrik Lundqvist coming up big in a couple games as well. Joe, this is this is a great matchup between 2 big hockey clubs here. Historic clubs. You've got a lot of great goaltenders. Both goaltenders are great. You got Rick Nash in this one. You got Shea Weber. You got a lot of great scorers. Rattle off. You've got a bunch going on here. 2-2 in the series. It now is a 3-game series here. Who do you like coming out in this one, Joe?
Well, I picked the New York Rangers. I thought they had a little more scoring top to bottom, and if Chris Kreider is now bumped onto their 4th line, if he ever wakes up, they will have scoring on their 4th line. I just kind of feel that there's just a little more scoring on the Rangers, although their play in a few of these games in front of their own net has been atrocious. Kevin Hayes, he's like 6'3", 230. He let Radulov. Radulov wore him like a cheap suit. And then you had in Game 2, Holden was laying there like a dead dog. You didn't know what to do in the crease. But they came back and they won a big game. Rick Nash is playing like monster Nash. Big game. I don't know. I just feel that there's just a little bit more firepower on the Rangers because the Canadians, other than Radulov, where's Max Pacioretty been this series? You had a little bit of Gallagher, no Galchenyuk yet. Shaw, Hank stuffed him big time in the breakaway. That was a huge save.
Yes.
Montreal needs more than Radulov to score.
Yeah.
So if they're going to win this series.
Yeah, I picked the Rangers to come out of this series. I still kind of like that, Knocker, but a great series nonetheless. Knocker, we talked about this series before Joe just hopped on here, kind of the forgotten series. The Senators and the Bruins here. As you said before, Knock, it's kind of like because Ottawa's in this that you're really not paying attention much to a Boston Bruins team that usually get a lot of attention media-wise on the TV
Absolutely.
or so whatnot. Now you got Knocker, you got the Senators up 3-1.
Well, no, they're playing right now. Did Ottawa win tonight? Because it was 2-1.
Ottawa won tonight. Now they're up 3-1.
Nice. They're up 3-1.
Yeah. They're up 3-1 in the series here. A shutout here in Game 4. They end up shutting out the Bruins here in Game 4 here.
Wow.
1-0 game here, Knocker. Goaltending. As we've seen here, Knocker, in these series, goaltending can win you those series.
Always about
Peke
goaltending.
Rinne for the Predators. You've got Anderson now for the Senators getting hot. Joe, me and Knocker are talking about this. This is the forgotten series. Usually when Boston's in a series, it's headlines. I think the Senators are going to sneak this one out here on Boston. And how much of a threat are they in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I picked the Senators to win this series. It's really funny because Boston was about 30 seconds away from being up 2-0 going back to Boston in this series.
Yeah, until they
funny
lost
how
in
the
overtime,
puck bounces. Bobby Ryan now has been the hero in 2 games. Bobby Ryan, kind of had a terrible regular season. Kind of name's been sullied a little bit by different hockey people.
For sure.
Brian Burke said he wasn't smart. He was the guy that got traded off. Between Getzlaf, Ryan, and Perry. He's the guy that got rid of.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's coming up big. That team is just totally. When Anderson's wife got cancer, they kind of came together as a team. And then Carlson, who's always had massive offensive skills, has just been incredible on the blue line. Incredible. And they have their top 4 defensemen now that they have, Mark Mathot back in the fold is really good. They're a team to look out for sure. Although I will pick the winner of the Ranger Montreal series. Probably to beat them in the next round.
All right. Next,
but I haven't made my decision yet.
I just have a question for you. What I'm liking about this overall playoffs in the NHL, it just goes to show you that if you're patient and that you draft well, the cycle does work. That's why they have the draft in inverse order. So if you're smart, you can build teams. Last year, none of the Canadian teams got into the playoffs. This year, all but Vancouver is in there, and you have young teams. You got Calgary with Johnny Hockey, and they've had very good drafts. Edmonton had the first pick, I believe, 3 years in a row. Carlson was the number one overall pick, I believe, 4 years ago. So you have teams that have done it the right way, and it's refreshing, and I think it's good for the NHL overall to have these young teams coming up that have been built through the draft, that lay down the paperwork for other organizations who keep floundering, that you can do it. Just be patient and be smart, and the cycle does come around.
Well, the cycle comes around when you get some generational players when it's your time to draft. That's for sure.
Right.
McDavid's number 1 and Connor and Austin Matthews number 1.
Yeah.
What's really funny about that is the other team that didn't make the playoffs from Canada is Winnipeg. And other than Montreal, they may be the most talented team. They just their coach kind of doesn't know how to crack the whip, Paul Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
But Winnipeg is a ridiculously talented team. But it is the one sport where there is parity that you can build a team from within and rise up. It's just
look at the Oilers.
And it's funny because
worst to first almost.
Yeah.
But I keep saying generational players, but every year it's been somebody. Like he mentioned the guy from Toronto that I forgot about.
Matthews,
so you got him, you got Carlson, you got McDavid, you got the kid that came, he's in Colorado. Landeskog or whatever the hell his name is. I think that's his name. So you've had in the draft some very, very good players coming out, and kudos to these teams that didn't trade away the draft picks going for the quick fix. Kudos to that. I think it's very good for the NHL to get these teams that aren't usually there back in the they're relevant now.
Well,
Anytime you have Toronto Maple Leaf blue in the playoffs, that's a good thing for the NHL.
Yeah, but it's a good segue there because we're moving in the last playoff series here. We got the Maple Leafs going with the Capitals. Just a fantastic series. Capitals coming up, holding on today for a 5-4 win to even the series at 2-2. You got the young team in the Maple Leafs. Getting Brian Boyle at the All-Star break to get that veteran leadership. He's already gotten a couple fights, a little bit of scrap. He's that scrappy veteran leader that they need. You got Frederik Andersen, again, ex-Ducks goalie, looking fantastic right now, except for tonight's game, but looking pretty good in the series. And for once, Joe, it finally looks like the Capitals and their scorers are scoring, which they don't usually do early in the series. Ovechkin already off to a good start, 3 goals. TJ Oshie's got 4 assists. Backstrom's been in the mix here as well.
Williams.
What are your thoughts here, man, on this series? Because I thought this was going to be the best series on the first round in the East, and it turns out it has been, man. What are your thoughts? I like the Capitals come out. I picked them early, and I still like them.
Yeah, I like the Capitals in that series. It's Trotz finally figured out, play your big horses, play the big line. There's no way Ovechkin should only get 15 minutes. There's the Toronto fourth line has killed them. Because any team that skates Daniel Winnick on it, that's the weak link. Kasper Kapanen was a +2 and had the game-winning goal the other night. So he said, "Play Ovechkin." He moved Tommy Wilson up to the third line. Tommy Wilson scored 2 goals tonight. I think Washington now they got by tonight after a few scares.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna take a big sigh of relief, and then they can win game 5 back at their place, and then maybe
close it out
it'll take them 6. But I think this goes to show the brilliance of Mike Babcock. Because, okay, you say, that the Capitals are a better team. But what does he say? He says he looks at the weaknesses. He looks at some old defensemen in Washington and say, our young guys, our young legs, we can skate with them. That's coaching. What does John Tortorella do? He looks at the Penguins and says, hey, we can't skate with them. We're going to try to out-hit them. Do you think does Tortorella? I mean, his theory didn't work in the Olympics. It doesn't work in the NHL. You don't intimidate anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 5 years ago, you might have got Sid and Gino and Letang to complain about things, but they don't get intimidated. Now Sullivan has them not complaining. Letang, which I think was the biggest complainer of all, he's not even playing right now. So when Sid and Gino are running circles around them, and Columbus is down 3-1, and they're wondering what happened.
Yeah,
it's all coaching.
If you guys don't know, Joe is a huge Penguins fan. He loves the Penguins. And you look at the series here, Knock is 3-1 now. You know, it looks like the Penguins got this one in hand, and they look like be like one of the favorites, obviously, in the East here. But real quick, Joe, before we close you out here, man, how comfortable are you with Marc-Andre Fleury once again leading you in your playoff charge? We've seen what's happened in the past with this guy. You've got all the talent in the world to score the puck, but can the guy between the pipes really do it for you?
I
You sound like those
Ozzy
people
Osbourne, man.
Yeah,
You
on
sound like
Finding
Ozzy.
Nemo. All those, the birds.
No, mine.
Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I love Marc-Andre Fleury. And the couple years that he did not have good playoff series, the Penguins were nowhere near. Or a couple years he did not play well in net, and we had some pretty good teams. Then for a couple years he played very well in net, and he shut out the Rangers for a couple games, and they choked the year that Marty St. Louis' mother died. And they all circled the wagons and the Rangers. I think Matt Murray is a little bit better of a goaltender, but I think we can still win with Marc-Andre Fleury, and I love the flower.
Your nose is growing like your nose is growing right now, man. It's just whoop. If you want to, you know you don't believe the crap that's coming out of your mouth right now about Marc-Andre Fleury.
I just told you the truth. I said that I think Matt Murray's a better goaltender.
That's fantastic. Well, Joe, man, hey, dude.
Flower.
Thanks for taking me. Really, it's great. That was some great hockey stuff, man.
Absolutely.
Like, seriously, that's fantastic stuff. I plugged your podcast before, but go ahead and plug it real quick before we let you go.
Oh, it's the Puck Off podcast. It's me and Fraser Smith, and we talk hockey.
Yeah, it's a great stuff. Like I said before, man, if you guys are hockey heads, get on that podcast. It is great stuff. Joe, I'm sure we'll be talking to you again before we get to the Stanley Cup Finals, man, to get your, again, input on the teams remaining. But, again, you brought us some hockey knowledge, and we're all just smarter because of you now. So we appreciate that.
Hey, I've been drinking some Fireman's booze to get ready for the golf outing.
There we go. Dude, oh, yeah, Bartnick's coming out just to hang out.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's just coming to hang.
Attaboy.
Yeah, it's going to be good stuff,
I
man.
I'm not golfing.
You can sit in the beer cart with me.
Yeah, you can sit in the beer car with Dan Burlington, man. There you go.
There's a group. There's a
that's
couple.
perfect.
Yeah, baby. All right, Joe, man, you get back to your night. We appreciate you taking the time, man. We really do.
Oh, you guys are the best. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. Again, follow him at Joe Bartnick on Twitter, also on Facebook as well, man. The guys, good stuff, man. You know what I give him credit for is the name. If you know hockey names,
right?
Hey, we're gonna go to break. That's cool, man. If you know hockey names, he's just pulling out Russian names, German names. It's Polish names. Just not stumbling at all.
Not like me. You know that guy, Landeskog, whatever the hell his name is.
I know every person on the Kings. Other than that, they're all fucking German or Russian. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not sure that San Dimas is ready for Burlington and Bartnick in one cart.
I know, man. Burlington and Bartnick car. Check that at the golf tourney. That'll be
Should be
one.
a podcast right there.
The
Burlington
Double B's!
Bartnick.
The Burlington and Bartnick podcast. We need to get that going. That would be so great.
That would. That's a
All right,
great
guys, when we
format.
get back after this last break, we're going to get some NBA playoffs here. Knocker, talk
right.
some Carmelo Anthony, Marcus Smart as well. Also want to get a couple what the fuck news. We had a Scottish chick try to resuscitate a pigeon. Straight out Ace Ventura shit.
Love
man.
it.
Have you seen it? It's unbelievable. We've got a couple having sex so loudly that it interrupted a tennis match, Knocker.
Love.
And, of course, we're going to cap it
Oh,
off.
I get it.
Right? See what I did there?
Oh, God.
See what I did?
We're going to cap it off with Mr. Dan Burlington.
Oh, we got
So,
soccer report,
we
soccer
got
news.
soccer news coming up. All right, Renee, we're going to get to break here. So I'm waiting for the out music. There you go. Thank you. Let's smoke a bowl, grab beer, and we'll be back after this.